And now, he's so good at ranting because he spends 4 hours a day in a hyperbolic chamber. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get it on. Mandate you get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. Speaking of that, I have a thought from yesterday that I didn't finish. Chris Max Pat is in studio. We got some trending topics to get to.
Let's
First,
go.
I have some general thoughts. So thanks for listening, and share it with a friend, because I was walking around my neighborhood during the break, and I'm a dude who likes construction, and there's a lot of building going on in my neighborhood. And what I forgot about is when I used to work construction, because the whole neighborhood shuts down, the city shuts down, everything shuts down, but not the construction crews. They're working the day before Christmas and they're working the day after Christmas. And I was just walking around going, oh yeah, that used to be my life. I used to we do a half day before the day before Christmas, and then we all would work the next day after Christmas, because no one could afford to not be paid for a week or 2 weeks or 10 days or whatever's going on. But I walked around my neighborhood and I watched all these poor guys out in the cold, the rain, doing their construction, and I went, thank God I have another job. Thank God I now get a paid vacation, and I get to travel, and I get to do all this stuff, and it's all because of you guys, the listeners who support the show. So thank you very much for that. Couple of rando thoughts, and we'll get into the trending topics. I was in New York. I brought this up before. I was in New York. I'll tell you how all that went down. But I was in New York, and I stayed at the Equinox Hotel, I think. Beautiful. And they had a beautiful spa. So I wanted to go get in that steam room. Dudes, modest, man. Every dude is wearing a towel. I saw dudes changing into their shorts with the towel on, like
they're outside at the beach.
Like they're at the beach. Like chicks do when they're trying to get out of their wetsuit or whatever. It's like holding the towel up in the fucking locker room. Just all dudes, locker room. Everyone is wearing something. Nobody's naked in the steam room or the sauna. Everyone is gingerly trying to slide out of their trunks, but not, reveal anything. When I grew up, a locker room was just a sea of cock and balls. That's all it was. I mean, dudes, there'd be dudes like standing up on benches because they didn't want to get athlete's foot from the ground. So their cock and balls were now in your eye line. They were swinging that fucking shit around. Like they were showing off their cock and balls. Right. When I grew up. They were naked everywhere. Everyone in the jacuzzi was naked. The dudes in the steam room would be naked with their legs, spread out, sort of laying back like Burt Reynolds. There's none of that. Now, I don't know what's going on. But what is this new modesty trend?
Yeah.
Why is it affecting young people? Why, in a world where there's just a sea of pornography and every Cardi B's up there singing about her twat every 10 minutes and everything else, so everyone's smoking pot, everyone's drinking a spike seltzer, everyone is dressed as scantily clad as you possibly can for the MTV Music Awards or whatever. The chicks are making out on stage and stuff. Then you go into the fucking locker room and everyone is pixelating their cock and balls. What is it? Like, where are we? Why the insane modesty in the place where it's completely acceptable to be naked, and then all the Sodom and Gomorrah type sinning that is cock and ball related going on outside of the locker room? What is this?
Well, what was the age of most of the guys? The average age?
Average age probably 33.
Yeah, this is a generational thing, because growing up in our locker rooms, none of us got naked. We were all pixelating our own, and I don't know what it was. Maybe
I get it's generational, but as soon as you step outside of the locker room, it is total freedom sexually.
Yeah.
So
and we're all okay with it. Like,
Yeah, no one judges. No one, there's, the Kardashians are dropping bootleg porns and stuff. There's no judgment going on outside of the locker room, but we're in the locker room now.
Yeah, absolutely no judgment, people, on the bootleg porn. Just so we'll put that out there.
Right.
But I don't know, because I'm one of the towel guys too, and I'm not comfortable. I'll
you're Asian. You have a cultural
I have a lot,
out.
Yeah, I have something to hide.
But I'm talking about brothers in there, Italians, Irish, who are, notably well hung. Just no one. Like, and then I started feeling weird when I was trying to change. Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to be the only one. You don't want to be the first one. So maybe that's why somebody needs to be the pioneer, and then it'll be okay. Everyone will be okay. Like Dawson, you are similar ages. Dawson, are you doing that?
I'm a shorts guy, board shorts guy. I don't like showing my junk, even but I think it comes with an age thing. I think you reach a certain age. It may be generational, but I can see a 55-year-old Chris just saying, fuck it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm old now. I don't give a shit. Here's my balls.
Listen, I went to the Y in Burbank once, like 25 years ago. The Y used to be a thing. Now it's like WHY. It's sort of like, why would you go to the Y now? Then it was like, why? Young men, now it's like, why? But there were some old timers shooting pool naked. Shooting fucking pool. Like getting the bridge out and leaning over and shit. Just, they had a pool table in the sort of men's area, it wasn't in the locker room. It's just sort of, here's the men's area. There's like a pool table and dudes just fucking cocking balls, shooting pool.
I don't know if me wearing the trunks versus me being naked is that big of a difference in comfort level. Like, I already feel pretty naked just wearing my trunks, so maybe that's why.
Well, the good news is I discovered a name to add to our football roster of made-up names that we have to revise soon. Which was, I was in this nice hotel, and they had all these free classes and stuff at the gym. There was a whole floor. It was beautiful. So I was like, I'm gonna take a class, and I decided I'm gonna take a Pilates class. But then they had a Pilates room, and the Pilates room had the Pilates machine, and the Pilates machine in the room, there were about 3 of them. But I kept thinking to myself, well, how do you do a Pilates class if you only have 3 machines? Like, there's got to be, I signed up, and they're like, yeah, come on down. And I was like, well, it's got to be something else. And I was told there's 2 kinds of Pilates. There's the Pilates machine, and then there's mat Pilates, to which I responded, I went to high school with that dude.
Yeah, Matt Pilates.
Matt Pilates. So Matt Pilates could now be a run-stuffing middle linebacker out of Penn State.
Yeah.
We'll figure out his position, but Matt Pilates definitely has to join our made-up football list.
Yeah, from the EuroLeague.
Yeah, Matt Pilates from the year. Yeah, he played in Italy for a number of years.
Yeah.
All right, so took the Pilates class, took 2 of them, liked it.
Back to back, or just?
No, one day and then the next day. Pilates, like Matt Pilates at least. I keep thinking of the guy. Matt Pilates is, it's like yoga mixed with a little extra strengthy kind of stuff. It's tough. All that shit is excruciating. But 45-minute Pilates class. That's all. There's all these other things like yoga and stuff's like an hour and a half all the time. Too much, too long.
Yeah.
Can't hang. 45 minutes. I've done it. I tried it again when I got home, like on the video with the hot chick on the beach in Australia, and just it's free. It's good. It'll work you. You'll feel good. You'll get a good stretch. You'll get the good core working. It's not going to put the vein in your arm, but Pilates, 45-minute Pilates, good. You can do it anywhere. Download the YouTube, watch it on your phone or whatever. Do it in your hotel room. The Pilates. I have not fully figured out the Pilates/yoga mat because it is 3/16 of an inch thick, and you lay it down on the hardwood, and it's almost like you're laying on the hardwood. I don't get what, and everyone's like, oh, you got to get a mat. You got to get a good mat. It's like, it's like saying, you're going to race that car? Yeah. You got to wear a yarmulke. It's like, okay. Well, it'll help like a little bit, but I mean, you could literally get the same function from a beach towel.
Yeah.
If you have a nice beach towel, you just lay down, I was like, you got to get that mat. And I get that they want to be mobile with it, so you want to be able to roll it up and take it on the airplane, but I don't feel like I need to travel with stuff that's padded. I feel like if you have carpet and you have padding, you have much more than a Pilates yoga mat. The padding on carpet, it's half-inch foam. Then you have the carpet itself. Lay the fucking towel down and do it that way.
Yeah, whoever did PR for yoga mats did an excellent job.
It's like you cannot engage in this activity if you do not possess this wisp of foam rubber between your spinal cord and the hardwood floor.
Yeah.
Yes, the yoga mat salesman is right up there with the girls' volleyball shoe salesman, which is, oh no, you cannot play in basketball or tennis shoes. You need a special shoe to stand on the basketball court and do everything LeBron James does. So yes, hats off to the Pilates mat and yoga mat guy.
I'm glad you're exercising.
Yeah, it was good. And it's taking the class is good because it kind of forces you, and there's like a peer pressure, and the guy walks around and he looks at you and gets disgusted because he keeps saying, put your right hand down and take your left leg and put it up, and half the class puts their left hand down and lifts their right leg. Like, people are no longer following instructions. They just the simple, right hand, left leg, that works on about 57% of the class, but the rest gone.
Terrible game of Twister.
Yes. All right. I wanted to mention our friend Dustin, who built this table, who we were talking about yesterday. One thing I sort of forgot to mention, which is if you work in a cubicle, then everything you do just goes up into the ether and it's all gone. This table will live on. This table that he made so beautifully will be part of his legacy for the rest of time, because this is not the kind of thing you would ever, when I'm done podcasting, I shall bequeath it to whichever child I like more at the time. But it lives on. And I was thinking about it last night. Like, yeah, I built people's houses and done, built them stairways and railings and cabinetry and stuff like that. And it's like, no one thinks about it. No one walks into their kitchen and goes, Adam Carolla built this in 1989. But it's just something. It's something you did. You laid your hands on it. You're gone, and it's here.
Yeah.
That's much more satisfying than the DMV job where you're shuffling the papers around. All right. Yeah. Last thing. Speaking of the DMV, could we do a thing? The DMV, my son was taking the test. He's talking about the broken line and the solid line and the white line and the yellow line and following distance and blah, blah, blah. Could we do a little, when you get into a fender bender, etiquette? A little coaching up of the etiquette. Not now, the pull it the fuck over to the side of the road, that should be hammered into everyone's head. That should be on every freeway sign. Although I was thinking last night about what I want on the worthless freeway sign, which says click it or ticket or slow for the cone zone, and there's no more click it or ticket because the car goes into cardiac arrest if you do not put your seatbelt on when you're backing down your driveway. And there's a lot of stuff I was thinking about, inflate your tires and that kind of automotive related stuff.
Yeah.
I got a new one. This is the one I want on all the LA freeway signs, all the electronic freeway signs, and all the stupid ones around the holiday. The Grinch doesn't like speeders or something like that. It's all nonsense. It's proven to be a distraction. Yeah. It doesn't help. Doesn't do anything. Here's what I want. I want on the sign, I want it to just say floss. Just floss.
That's brilliant.
People have shitty breath. There's a lot of tooth decay. They're actually always talking about, the plaque, and the decay and whatever. It'll make its way to your heart. A lot of people getting fucked up because of bad orthodonture. If you just flossed every day, but not to mention however much we have to pay out for the people that don't have insurance and the blah, 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 or have to live with it, or just how fucking unemployable you are when you have the really shitty shit mouth full of rotted teeth and blah, blah, blah. Every third commercial I see on TV now is a commercial for tooth replacement.
Yeah.
Like if you watch TV, it's all bizarre medications that have to do with your bowels and Crohn's disease and or tooth repair, new bridge, just get a new set of teeth, in 24 hours with put the post in and do the whole thing. How about just floss? Like, I think that would work. Like, I think if I was driving and I saw it said floss, I'd go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that has to be the most overlooked healthcare, like personal hygiene thing that we as Americans do, right? I mean, of course, every time you go to the dentist, you don't floss enough. You need to floss. It's actually super important.
It's super important. It has financial ramifications. It would help the overall health of the people in the city, and it would be a huge windfall. I mean, but look, versus click it or ticket, which doesn't exist. That's a non-thing. If it just said floss, and I was also watching the football game that everyone was talking about, and on the sideline, it says it takes all of us. Again, that means nothing to anybody, has no place in the real world. But if it said floss, there would be millions and millions of people that would be sitting in front of their TV set, eating a hoagie or something, or chicken wings. And at some point, they'd go, I guess it's time to bust out the floss.
Just you saying floss this many times, I've licked my teeth.
Yeah, it makes me want to floss.
Yeah, I really do.
Is the mooch up? I'm looking at a sign there that says the guest is here. Well, hold on 1 second. The mooch was supposed to be on in about 12 minutes or something. He just popped on early. Oh, okay.
Great.
So I was going to do some trending topics, but I might as well pull the mooch.
We'll do it after mooch.
All right, we'll do it after mooch. All right, we will pull up Anthony Scaramucci, who's in his man cave over there. Good to see you, Anthony.
Nice to see you. Yeah, the Dr. Drew, he's in good shape, Dr. Drew. I mean, he was the oldest person on the course.
Yeah, no, he's a stud, but I think he ran into some trouble. I won't give too much away, but you guys can watch it and find out.
I'm not allowed to give up spoilers, but it was a great event, and I think I've created lifelong friendships, including with Dr. Drew. That was really an amazing thing to do.
So where did it take place?
It was in the Jordanian desert. We were in a place called Wadi Rum, where if you've seen the movie The Martian was filmed there. If you saw the Star Wars, the second episode of Star Wars, back in the 1980s, that was also filmed there. It really does look like a Martian landscape. It is a underwater ocean basin, if you will, that's been above land now for probably 500,000 years. So if you're actually looking at the rock, you can see coral and fossils in the rock, and it's quite red. It's a reddish feel. So you feel like you're on the surface of Mars.
Was it like Drew was telling me it was like 118 degrees?
During the day, I think the peak temperatures were like 115 to 118. At night, the evening started at 105, but it being the desert, you got yourself down to 70 degrees. So you were going from super hot to, okay, I better find my comforter, sometime in the middle of the night.
It's a place where no life can really exist. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, listen, the insects are, they're tough beasts. They're Darwinian beasts, roaches and flies and insects and scorpions. They have They have a tendency to live anywhere on this planet. You had that going. I guess Mike Piazza said to me, it's a good thing we weren't in Vietnam, where you're in a jungle and in a swamp. I would take the dry heat over a wet jungle. So the desert terrain was probably more livable. But I'll tell you, you're at 100+ degree heat throughout the day with no air conditioning and no place to escape the heat. It grinds on you. And of course, I'm sure Dr. Drew told you this, but there was no indoor plumbing. There was no plumbing. So you had a water tower that was, being heated by the sun. That's where you were taking your shower or washing your clothing. And you had a latrine, which were basically just steel cisterns that you were, unfortunately, going to the bathroom in.
Did they treat you right when they weren't abusing you, like meals and things of that nature?
No. It was full abuse from beginning to the end. So the meals were terrible. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to curse on your podcast. You're allowed to curse on your podcast?
Yes.
Have you ever heard of shit on a shingle?
Yes. Chip beef.
So we had that. That was disgusting. There were mornings where you had one hard-boiled egg, and then you had a piece of white bread, not toasted. And then, of course, they had coffee, but it was Sanka. I mean, you and I are old enough to remember Sanka. It was coming out of the coffee cistern at 120 degrees,
So it was a full immersive experience.
Yeah. And, listen, and it was when I got there, I was like in disbelief. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. That is a thin, green, military issued canvas cot. And the pillow was this high off the ground.
Quarter
and
inch.
I had a white T-shirt or 2 white T-shirts, military fatigues, 1 pair of boots, 2 pairs of socks, 2 pairs of underwear, and that was what you were issued. And I was like, okay, this can't be right, but it was. And that's and then of course they were waking us up, in the middle of the night, and they were full on torture, military style, full on torture. But listen, look, I want to be fair to the real special forces. I'm sure this was not real special forces, but what was shown on television over the previews, people being set on fire, asked to run out of houses on fire, jumping, backflipping off of helicopters, controlled vertical leaps from 450, 460 feet in the air, military training course, survival training, terrorist camp fighting, combat fighting, hand-to-hand combat. All that stuff has been shown on the previews. And listen, that was real. And they always had an element of surprise, Adam, where they were not allowing you to see what was going to happen to you. So part of Special Forces training is, are you mentally tough enough? And are you physically tough enough? And oh, by the way, if we turn the heat up on all of you and create a very super stressful environment, will you guys make out? Will you be able to survive that very super stressful environment?
How much of it was psychological for you?
Well, I mean, they're lowering you into the water. You're seatbelted in a car, and if you do the timing, you can hold your breath long enough to get yourself out of that car. But the fear of being trapped in a car as it's descending underwater is quite psychological. I would tell you that was, scared the living daylights out of me. I'm afraid of heights. And so, if they ask you to climb 450 feet vertically and then strap yourself to a bungee cord, and they want you to leap off of the side of a cliff and then trust one of the other contestants to handbrake you on the way down, I got to tell you, there's a lot of psychology in that. I was very fearful.
Let's skip to White House, Trump,
Sure.
Politics. Your background is in finance, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did you get into the Trump White House?
Well, I don't want to make it too long-winded, but what happened to me is I grew up in a blue-collar neighborhood. I went to Tufts and Harvard. I got a job at Goldman where I was assigned to the high net worth area. I was effectively, we called it private client services back then. I think it's called private banking now. And so Goldman gave you a desk, a telephone, a computer, and a bunch of business cards, said, go out and find wealthy individuals that want to open accounts here at Goldman and grow your business. And so for all intents and purposes, you were being a high-end retail broker at Goldman Sachs. And so it's a great entry-level job. But the problem for me, Adam, is I had no network. My dad was a blue-collar person. We never saw the inside of a country club, never swung a golf club or smashed a tennis racket. And so I was left trying to come up with an idea to meet these sorts of people. And one of the ways in was through politics. And so I was 25 years old. I wrote a check to Rudolph Giuliani for $250. I was Young Republicans for Mayor Giuliani's campaign. He lost that campaign, which was actually good for me because I became close to then, Mr. Giuliani. He ran again in 93 successfully. I was a big part of that campaign, helped him win. We went on to, a decent administration. Those 2 terms were decent, helped clean up the city. He introduced me to Governor Pataki, and then true to Rudy's personality, he dropped his endorsement of Pataki and switched to Mario Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo's father. So I was still with Pataki as a Republican. So here I was, from age 25 to let's call it 52, 27 years in the Republican Party. I did support some Democrats. I live in a Democratic state, but I was a political business leader, if you will, raising money. And it was a very good entree into that community of wealthy individuals. So, that's how I ended up in Republican Party politics. When Donald Trump was running, I didn't support him. I was with Jeb Bush. Mr. Trump called me and told me that Jeb Bush had low energy and that he would knock Jeb out of the race. And would I come to work for him after that? I made a series of colossal mistakes. Happy to talk about all of them, but the first one was making the decision to work for Mr. Trump in the first place. And so I thought it was the right decision at the time. I was a Republican, loyal to the party. I thought, there's 2 choices. His policies would be better than Secretary Clinton's. I didn't think he was going to go as rogue as he did. And that's what led me there. When he won the presidency, we were very thinly staffed. He put me on the executive transition team. I helped to build the cabinet. And then he offered me a job. My first job offer was, frankly, to be the White House liaison, sort of his chief networking officer. A guy by the name of Reince Priebus. I don't know if you remember that personality. Sure. He was a fairly malevolent person. He didn't want me to have that job. Rather than telling me to my face, which would have been totally fine because I'm a New Yorker, I believe in front stabbing, not backstabbing. All he had to do was tell me to my face, hey, I don't want you in that job. I'm the chief of staff. But he made up some nonsense about me. And then that's when my ego kicked in. And so, stupidly, I told Mr. Trump, hey, you're going to want to get rid of Reince Priebus someday. He's a bad guy. Call me. I'll take care of it for you. And he did. And so there I was in the White House in July of 2017 as the comms director. Shootout at the OK Corral. 11 days later, I got fired alongside of Pete Priebus and Bannon. But frankly, my job was to take those guys out. I took them out. But unfortunately, I got tossed as well.
So it's like a suicide mission.
A little bit like that. As my suicide vest was going off, though, thankfully, I reached for Bannon and blew him right out the front door with me. But hey, listen, it happened. It is what it is. I own my mistakes. If you're ever having a bad day, Adam, give me a call, okay? Because it can't be as bad, unless it's a health reason, it can't be as bad as the day I was having on July 31st, 2017, when my wife was filing for divorce. I was fired from the White House and lit up on every late night comedy show and roasted on Saturday Night Live. Okay, so, there are bad days and then there are exponentially bad days. That was an exponentially bad day.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean, it happens in life. What are you going to do? The real lesson is to go forward and, not overly think about it. I don't wake up in the morning and kick myself in the pants that I got fired from the White House. I'm I've actually had a lot of fun with it, frankly. I don't think I would have been invited on that reality show had I not worked in the White House. And so I'm grateful for some of it.
Yeah, well, the worst life you can have is a life without experiences. Now, we'd like to have more good experiences than bad experiences,
Yes.
but a lack of experiences in general is not a good life. And as you sort of look back on your life, especially when you get a little distance from the bad experiences, they usually lead to something else, like you hanging out with Mike Piazza and Dr. Drew in the desert, that wouldn't have happened minus the bad experience. And then also, you know, the bad experiences are sort of like calluses. You need to kind of build up, you know, you got to walk around barefoot on some hot sand every once in a while to build those calluses up. And I do kind of wonder if our attempt to prevent every child from ever having a bad experience or from ever falling off a skateboard and skinning their knee, or like this crazed attempt to protect everyone from these experiences, we're not churning out good soldiers, good citizens, good neighbors. It's sort of a, you can wipe everything down with Lysol in your house and you think you're doing your kid a favor, but what you're really doing is depriving the kid of a bad experience of catching something and then building up their immune system.
Well, I'm going to say a couple of things because it sounds like you and I are in total agreement about everything. I'm just going to go a little bit deeper if you don't mind. I think our problem started when we ended the draft. And now people are going to be super upset with me because there's, probably pacifists that listen to you. It's not about being a pacifist. It's about uniting the country. And so let me just give you these stats. At the end of the Second World War, 35% of the American people were tied somehow to the American military. They had a brother, sister, niece, aunt, uncle somewhere in the American military serving in the war, either overseas or in the United States. When you got to the Congress, you had almost 70% of the congressional members were members of the American military. So when George McGovern, who was a Democrat, was fighting with Bob Dole, who was a Republican, they had this mutuality of respect because they had worked together in the U.S. military. They had the ethos and love of country. And so there was a level of civility between them, even though one was from the Dakotas and one was from Kansas. And so we've lost that. Less than 17% of the Congress now is tied to the American military. We don't have that comity, the COMITY, in the country. Our political leadership has decided that gerrymandering is the way to go for them. That preserves their staying power in places like the Congress. And so you and I both know, are you in a real democracy if the candidates are picking the voters as opposed to the voters picking the candidates? And so we've had this gerrymandering go on both sides. It's an indictment of both parties. And that's led to more extremists and more tribalism. And at the same time, we fractured ourselves with the iPhones and the social media businesses and the fragmentation of the cable television. So now we're all listening to our own confirmed biases of what we like, our own echo chambers, if you will. And so we've lost the spirit of compromise, and we've lost some of our ability to see the other person's point of view. So not only do I agree with everything you're saying, I can explain to you sociologically how we got here. Now, we can fix it. We can fix it. But it's going to require a different form of political leadership and a bit different form of civil leadership than the one that's out there right now.
Speaking of that, what do you think about Trump running again? What do you think about DeSantis? I mean, who do you like? What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm a lifelong Republican. So my message to my fellow Republicans is Trump is the wrong messenger for your movement. I understand that many people are attached to him. Some of those people don't like President Biden and so forth and so on. But if you look at the Liz pendants, the grievances that Donald Trump has created in the society and the divisiveness of his personality, I don't think he's the right leader for this moment. You're asking me about Ron DeSantis. I don't know Ron super well. I think he's had a successful run as governor. He would be a better candidate than Donald Trump, in my opinion, because I just think he would be more effective in the job. He would be less divisive. But I'm not in love with some of the bullying natures of Ron DeSantis. I don't like flying people who are human beings to
Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah, I don't like that. I think that's a form of bullying. That could have been my grandmother. My grandmother came here with no money. When she got to Ellis Island, they dropped her off in Brooklyn. She couldn't get a job. There were signs in the windows that said, Nina, no Italians need apply. She ended up working as a maid, and she was reliant on her community to help her get her start in America. And so I'm grateful to that community. If Governor DeSantis was there shipping her off to Martha's Vineyard or flying her to some place that he thought was going to prove a political stunt on Fox News, that wouldn't have been good for my family, and it wouldn't be the right thing to do. So I'm not in love with those things. I hope he's learned from that. I hope he thinks that was a mistake and doesn't continue to do things like that.
Yeah, community. Man, it used to really... I think the problem is we shifted from community to government, and government doesn't do what community does. My grandfather, who's my step-grandfather, but it's the only grandfather I knew, came here from Hungary. And, as World War II was breaking out, he was a Jew. He saw which way the wind was blowing. Family members were being rounded up. He took off. He ended up coming to L.A. and got in with a Hungarian community. There was a community of writers, interestingly enough. He ended up being a writer for a living. He barely spoke English, but there was a strong, in Los Angeles, community of Hungarians who wrote for TV shows and did that kind of stuff. And they took him in and they gave him a stipend and they helped get his career started and so on and so forth, and was terribly effective. It worked. It works very nicely. And it bothers me. And maybe it's church and community, the stuff that I feel like the government keeps saying, we're going to handle this. Let us handle this. Let us give you some universal income. Let us handle the schools. You give us more of your tax money and we will handle this stuff for you. But I don't see any evidence that they handle it. And that's my problem. If I thought they were doing an effective job handling it, then I would be more prone to go, yeah, all right, less community, more government. But we need to get back to that community that your grandmother and my grandfather experienced back in the day. And I don't know where we find it. I'm not a religious person, but I think we used to find a lot more of that in the church.
Well, listen, I think it's very well said. And I guess the only thing I would add to that, because I don't want to detract from anything you're saying by opening my big mouth, I would just say to you that we can get back there. I think that there's too much cynicism now where people are ready to write off certain things about the great values that we all treasure in America. I'm not saying we're going back to It's a Wonderful Life and the age of Jimmy Stewart, but I do believe that we have a lot more in common than what separates us. And with the right leadership and the right slight shifts in the culture and in the educational process and things like that, we can return to that. So we can have a more racially inclusive society, less racially divided, but also have some wholesomeness back, something that we reflect on fondly about our country and our experience here in America.
Yeah, my head on it when we're talking about sort of traditional values, especially as it pertains to this country, is whenever you say, well, we should go back and get back in touch with some of those traditional values, then some asshole will always go, oh, you want separate drinking fountains for blacks and whites? And I'm like, no, we don't have to do the stuff that was bad. We can just go back to the stuff that works. Like, we don't have to bring back 2 drinking fountains and lawn darts, but we can bring back community, family, religion, that sense of knowing your neighbor. They used to have block parties. Everyone would just come out into the streets and barbecue and stuff. Just those cherry pick the good stuff that worked, which to me always just falls under the heading of diet and exercise. We don't have to get that fancy about it. It's just sort of family, education, community. So you grew up with a dad who was he a construction
Yeah, so my
worker?
dad was he was a crane operator out on Long Island. He spent 42 years, and so the ownership of the business changed a few times, but he was there working in a sand mine. Not to give you a geology lesson of Long Island, but Long Island was a remnant of the last ice age. It was a glacial deposit. When the glacier receded, it left Long Island, Block Island, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, the elbow of Cape Cod. All of that is traced back to the Catskills, the Adirondack Mountains that were leveled as the glacier came down. And so Long Island had the largest granulated sand deposits in North America. The town I grew up in attributes 65% of the sand that went into the concrete to make the New York City skyline from the year 2000 to 1905 to 2000, Adam. So a 95-year period of time, the sand from my hometown was shipped over to Long Island City, mixed into concrete, and driven over the Queensboro Bridge to help create the skyline that I'm sitting in. And so we have a lot of pride in that in Port Washington. My dad operated the crane there for 42 years. And so, but here's the story. It was a great middle-class upbringing. He had a very high hourly wage as a crane operator. That very same job today, if you priced it economically, of course, that job doesn't exist because that sand mine is now a golf course. But if it did exist in his union, that job is down about 26% in terms of real economic purchasing power. So even though the hourly wage is up from the 1980s, its purchasing power is down about 26%. So you take a family like ours. I was raised in the middle class. We had a nice, humble house, but it was workable, and we were literally in want for nothing. I would never disavow my dad's work ethic by telling you I grew up poor. I did not grow up poor. But had he had the same job, fast forward 40 years later, we would have needed some governmental assistance because of the way things have changed in the country. Now, whether people like this or not, Donald Trump saw that change. Donald Trump saw that economic anxiety. He saw American blue-collar people that grew up 35 years ago economically aspirational. He saw the change from that to economically desperational in that 35 short years. And so we made a lot of changes, the globalization, the hollowing out of our manufacturing base, so many different things that we did. NAFTA, as an example, we lost 65,000 U.S. factories since the introduction of NAFTA 30 plus years ago. And so, we have anxiety in the country, and we have people that have felt left out of the system. They feel like the establishment has let them down, which is different from our grandparents and our parents. Our parents thought the establishment was helping them. They had trust in their government. They had trust in the institutions of the establishment. Many people don't have that anymore. We have people fighting over the vaccines, fighting over the politics, fighting over the medical and business establishment, sticking a finger in the eye of the media. And that's a direct result, I think, of this fracture that I'm describing. Speaking of the media, I mean, obviously they went after you hard. You became a caricature. It's done pretty frequently now. And I have to admit that it's hard to separate the caricature person from the actual person. I mean, what I mean is there's a part of me that realizes, no, this is a person, this is a parent, this is an American, he's not a cartoon character. But and it frequently happens that way when you sit down and interview a celebrity and they turn out to be nothing like what you think they are. I'm kind of getting that experience from you today because all I got was the cartoon version of you, which had to be pretty frustrating for you to watch. No, I'm not. I'm actually really not offended by it because you have to remember something. If you go into politics, this is a blood sport. And so the first thing that happens to you is your adversaries in your own party malign you. And then, of course, you have the adversaries from the other side of the fence, Democrats and Republicans, that malign you. So we don't have any smart politicians, right? Because our politicians get eviscerated by each other and they get demeaned and they get ridiculed and caricatured. So I went into American politics. We could have the conversation about the NFL. I watched that tragic circumstance last night where the the free safety for the Bills, was injured, went into cardiac arrest. The problem is, though, if you're on the NFL playing field, you're guaranteed to get a concussion. I don't know anybody that goes into an NFL game, puts the helmet on, that doesn't get a concussion. And I would say that about American politics. I think it's an apt metaphor. If you've made the decision to put the uniform on at the highest level, go into the White House and stand in the Brady press room and do a press conference for a divisive American president, then it would be impossible for you not to be maligned, caricatured, dehumanized. This is a funny picture. I'm going to show it to you, but it's emblematic of what happened. Okay, I don't know if your viewers can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah, see it well.
So that is the New York Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
It was New York Magazine. That's original art. That was supposed to be the cover the week I got fired. Okay, so there's Donald Trump, and there I am, the Consigliere, right? So that is an Italian stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, and the Italians, we're still allowed to stereotype the Italians.
Sure, we can say whatever we want.
Yeah, I was Tony Soprano on the Hudson. I was a Jersey Shore cast member in the White House. And of course, here's a picture of me.
Imagine.
See, and
right.
So to me, and the guy was very nice. He sent it to me. He said, "Hey, they're never going to use this, but I thought you'd enjoy having it."
So that was you whispering into Trump's ear.
Exactly. So to me, if you go on the playing field,
yeah,
and you end up getting hurt or mischaracterized, or people want to forget my Harvard Law School education or my career as a successful entrepreneur, I don't blame them. That's the deal. That's the game. That's how it operates.
No, I get that part, and I agree. But I'll circle back to two things. One is you're right. You were turned into an Italian cartoon character. They could never do that with Kamala Harris. They could never bring her race or nationality or anything in it. You would be completely canceled by society, or President Obama or Michelle Obama or Sotomayor. You know what I mean? You couldn't bring their culture or their heritage into any facet of your criticism. But if you're Italian, you can. And so what I'm sort of saying is I get that you walk onto the playing field, but what I'm sort of saying is the referee is calling different calls for you than he would for Kamala Harris, is what I'm saying, which I guess is still part of your bigger picture. My feeling is yes, you will be attacked by your own in the party, and you will be attacked by the other side. But at some point, when CNN starts lying about you, doesn't it then get into the ref is now calling penalties against your team?
Well, you may remember this, and this is going back 5+ years ago now, but CNN wrote a very untrue, very unfair story about me. I had to go to the top levels of CNN and say, hey, this is totally factually inaccurate. 3 journalists were fired for that story. They literally made up a story, completely factually inaccurate, mischaracterizing something about me. They basically said I was under federal investigation or something like that, none of which was true. And I'm like, okay, guys, you can't lie about something like that. Okay, if you want to malign my character, you want to stereotype me, so on and so forth, that's fine. I can't say I'm under federal investigation if I'm not. And so those three journalists got fired. But this is the blood sport that we're in now. So here's what can happen to you, though, Adam. You could become very cynical about all that. You could, blah, blah. Or you say, okay, this is where it is. I'd rather hit it head on the Adam Carolla show, talk about it openly, and then talk about how we can fix it, or just not ever play the victim. I have found in my life that self-pity and the emotions of victimology or victimhood serve nobody's interests. I think one of the worst emotions you can have as a human being is self-pity. So you'll never hear me play the victim card ever. I'm just having too much fun in life to ever be considered a victim. But what I will say is when they're doing that, yes, there is a sense of unfairness, but I don't like to be righteous about it. I want to be open about it and exposing of it so that people that listen to your show that are looking for the truth will say, that's an interesting, thoughtful response. to what's going on. And listen, we have to fix it. We have to fix it for our children and grandchildren. And we have to die trying to fix it, frankly, even if we can't fix it, because we have to. Because if we don't fix it, what ends up happening is it steps down another step function, and then it steps down another step function. And that's not going to serve anybody's interest.
Well, you brought up victimhood. It's a subject that has been driving me nuts because I've been screaming about victimhood and how insidious it is and how much damage it causes the groups you're turning into victims. And we have kicked it into high gear politically when we're talking about victims. And it damages the group that you claim to be a supporter of this group, and then you call them victims, and then you hurt them more. When I hear Biden give a speech and he's talking about airline prices and extras and them tacking on extra charges for a little extra knee room or something, which it didn't make sense to me. I have no idea what he's talking about. You buy a ticket, you pay another $40, you get Comfort Plus, and you get another 8 inches of knee room. So I have no idea what he's talking about. But at some point he goes, this impacts disproportionately low-income people and people of color. And I'm like, so it impacts people of color who aren't in the low-income bracket because Delta wants to charge 39 extra bucks? And why do we keep banging this drum? I get it. It's politically expedient. But it is so harmful, and it'd be the worst thing you could do to a kid, especially if your kid, let's just say, had a disability and you just kept pounding that kid with you'll never do this and you can't do that and you'll never achieve this. You would ruin that kid. It's now pervasive. It's everywhere. It's just victims. Yeah. Every woman feels like a victim, or half the women feel like victims, and they're the majority of the population. We don't even know what the word minority means anymore. Like, Asians aren't minorities because they're doing well. So we have to label people minorities based on their income, not based on their ethnicity. We've gone completely insane. Utterly insane, caused tons of damage, and did not help these people by making them think that all cops were racist and they had a target on their back, or Delta Airlines wanted to gouge them for more money. It's so irresponsible. It is so insane. It is so destructive. And all I see are the people calling everyone victims, and then the other side sitting around scared to open their mouth because they don't want to be called a racist.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you and I were separated at birth and we didn't realize that. We have to do some genetic testing. Maybe you're closer to being a relative of mine than I thought. But here's what I did work
construction for over a decade.
But here's what I would say, and it'll get me in trouble, but I don't mind the trouble because I do think it's good trouble, and I think good trouble is healthy. Minority has become about money. The American Jews, as an example, I believe there are 7 million of them. They can't check a box. Definitionally, if there's 330 million people in the country and there are 7 million people, that's a minority. They can't check a box anywhere at a college because of their perception of wealth. Okay, so, and some of it's real and some of it isn't. The point being is that this has become a discussion about income, and there's a series of grievances that we're always going to hear, and they're easy. But I will say this to you, and I do believe this, it's a very thin layer of the society that's making these grievances and causing this social engineering distortion. I think if you went into your neighborhood or my neighborhood with a microphone and said, well, do you feel this way or do you feel that way? They would say no. Okay. You would see many people in the African-American community that want petty criminals that are robbing these drugstores that are now closing around all the inner cities. They would want these petty criminals that are professional criminals arrested. It wouldn't matter if they were black, white, green, yellow, purple, blue. They would want them arrested. So because of this wokeness, we're allowing petty professional criminals to terrorize our society. And so, we don't like the behavior of Mayor Giuliani today. But I can tell you back in 1993, him and Bill Bratton, they came up with a plan. They figured out that there was only 3,000 or 4,000 people that were actually terrorizing the other 7.5 million of us. They were petite street criminals. They were glad handers in front of a stop sign or a toll booth looking for money, and they cleaned the city up. And they had a whole broken windows theory, and they moved these people off the streets or they arrested them. And so I'm going to tell you something. People are not going to like this. But if you examine 5,000 years of the history of crime, unfortunately, the way crime has been dealt with is you have to imprison the people. I mean, we're not talking about the Hammurabi Code where we're cutting people's arms off anymore or their hands. We're just talking about getting the people out of the business of harming their fellow citizens. That's the only way that we've been able to successfully deal with crime. Now, if you want to rehabilitate criminals, of course, I'm all for that. But you do have to be realistic about it. You have to say, okay, you've robbed 7 drugstores this month. You got to go to jail now. You can't just keep getting out in this rotisserie situation and bail. You know, I live in New York. It's a very blue state. The kid that ran against Governor Hochul, he could have beat her, but he was too MAGA and he was too nutty with the abortion rights issue for a state like this. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Lee Zeldin could have beaten her. This was the opportunity for a moderate Republican, no more nonsense, like George Pataki in 1994 to take over the state. But he couldn't do it because he was tied to Donald Trump, and he was too close-minded on the women's rights issues for a state like this. But, you know, the truth be told, people want the crime off the street. They want it cleaned up. There's only one way to do it. No other way works. We've proven that through 5,000 years of history. And there's a difference between good policy and bad policy. We both know that. So here we are.
Yeah, it was funny. I was walking with Dr. Drew, another Special Forces participant, and we were in New York a week ago. God, what was it? Yeah, a week ago. I was walking through New York, and I was looking at the crazy variety of people and languages and all. I mean, when you walk through New York, you realize, wow, every culture on the planet is represented here. And then I turned to him and I laugh because I always bring this up to Drew when the politicians start talking about America is, you know, on the right, scared of people who look different than them and don't look like them, scared. And I'm like, I laugh every time because could you imagine living in New York or any other metropolitan city where you were scared of people who didn't look like you? Like Dr. Drew and I were walking through the sea of humanity. It's like nobody looks like me in this group and no one looks like Drew.
I mean, those are coastal cities. And what do we know throughout history in a coastal city where there's lots of trade and there's lots of incoming and outgoing traffic? What do we know about each other? That we're all the same. You know, I looked at something was posted on Twitter. There were 100 cities, and it said, how many have you ventured into? How many have you visited? I counted 69 of the 100 major global cities that I've had the opportunity and the good fortune to visit. And my reaction to that is that when you do that, you realize that we're all the same. You realize that we all have something in common, a love for our children. We want to better ourselves. We want our children's lives to be better than our own. And I think the more familiarity that we have with each other, the less xenophobia that we have. And so, you know, you and Dr. Drew are enlightened, but you're also educated and you're also living in an area where it's giving you this input where you recognize there's no need to be fearful of people because they're coming from different quote unquote tribes than your own tribe. And so that is uniquely American. And I would say this to you, and I want you to think about it. When Lee Kuan Yew, the founder of Singapore, on his deathbed, he was interviewed by Graham Allison, the dean of the Kennedy School. And he said, so what are your future thoughts about America? Are you optimistic or pessimistic? And the founder of Singapore, this great leader, said, no, I'm incredibly optimistic. And Graham Allison seemed surprised. And he said, well, why? He said, well, the United States, you can come to the United States and you can be Ukrainian like Dr. Drew, and then you become a Ukrainian American, and then you become an American. I'm an Italian American, but we become American. In 5 years, according to Lee Kuan Yew, you become an American. You're fully assimilated in the American culture. No other country you can do this. You can't go to Japan and become American Japanese. You can't do it. You can't go to Germany and become American German. You can become German American. And the point that this great leader was making is that we can draw on the resources of the greatest minds and the greatest intellectual capital across the world if we stick to the right immigration policies and we stick to the right positivity about the American experience. And I just point this out because this is where we've gotten the Einsteins of the world, the Henry Fords, you pick the people, good or bad, however you feel about them, the Elon Musks. You know, Elon Musk grows up in South Africa, but he makes his fortune here in the United States. And there are ample reasons for that, Adam.
Well, you know, look at many of the Jews who were scientists who fled Germany and Europe, you know, at the beginning of World War II, and then we used them to create an atomic bomb and weapons to defeat Nazi Germany. Anthony, it's been a very interesting conversation. I didn't know what to expect because all I got was the SNL version of you.
All right, well, there you go. That was fun. They called me human cocaine. Okay, my kids love that, by the way. It's called human cocaine on SNL. I guess that was a compliment. I don't know. Special
Forces, the world's toughest test. It'll premiere tonight as you hear this on Fox, and I shall be watching, my friend. And when you're in L.A. next, tell Drew, and we'll go out and get a steak.
I would love that opportunity. I'm a huge fan of yours, Adam, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be on the program. Thank you.
Anthony Scaramucci, thank you so much, my friend. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll get to those trending topics right after this.
Here's a little something we left on the cutting room floor for the 2022 ACE Awards. Bert Kreischer.
And she goes, hey, whatever you do, don't bring up Star Wars. You know, we're having dinner with Mark tonight. Like, it's going to be hard. Like, it's like a big deal with him. She goes, I know, I haven't seen it, though.
Oh, my God.
I said, you haven't seen fucking Star Wars?
Any Star Wars?
She goes, no, I haven't seen it. It just wasn't big in Eastern Europe. And I was like, are you fucking sure? And she goes, I don't know. I don't know the fucking movie, so don't bring it up. I said, all right. So we sit down. Mark sits down. We have our first drink. I said, Mark, Eva's a huge fan of Star Wars. And you see her eyes go big like, oh. And Mark goes, oh, really? What did you like? What did you like about Star Wars? And she goes, I don't know. You know, typical good guy versus bad guy storyline always gets me. And I go, who's your favorite character, Eva? And she goes, Chewbacca. I said, can you do an impression of Chewbacca? And she goes, oh, of course. Hello, I am Chewbacca. It's good to meet you.
Stick with us. This December, the 2023 ACE Awards. Let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
All right. Well, Max Zapata's back in studio to do his trending topics. I wanted to finish one quick thought because I got sidelined for a second by the mooch. I was talking about the DMV, and I should say sidetracked instead of sidelined. But I was talking about the DMV, and I was talking about floss on the freeway signs and stuff. But what I wanted to finish was my thought about basic etiquette when you get into a fender bender. Because I was walking down PCH 2 days ago, Pacific Coast Highway, and in the left lane, it's 2 lanes this way and 2 lanes that way, in the left lane heading toward Los Angeles, I heard a slight sound, just like a little blink and crunch and something, and I looked, and there was a big Ford F-250 crew cab stopped, and a little miniature little Hyundai something that had just tapped it, just bumped it. And because the truck bumper was a foot higher than all the damage was on the Hyundai. The truck was fine. But the dude, who was a big dude, who was probably 50, who got out of the truck, first move, pull over. You're standing in the middle of PCH, and people get killed all the time. Got out of the car. It was barely a tap. Got out of the car, started. Now, cars are piling up in the left lane, and now people are like swerving because there's no they're moving at 50 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden there's a stack up, and they're trying to cut into the next lane but not get caught up in the stack up. And he's out there, but the one I like is he gets out of the car, he walks around, and is like, poor, I don't know, Filipino woman sitting there with their daughter in the little car.
I really hate this guy.
He gets out of the car, comes around, and he does the hands out, what's going on thing. And it's like, you don't have context for what is going on? PCH is a long highway. There's lots of traffic on it, and people tap each other all the time. What do you mean, what's going on? Like his hands go sailing out. What is the meaning of this?
Yeah.
Like somebody flung open his shower curtain and was wearing a clown outfit or something. Like, what is going on? So he's like, what's going on? She's like, he's looking at the bumper. There's no damage. There's nothing. He's like shaking his head. Like at some point, the emergency blinkers go on. Now everything's piling down PCH, and he's going to move. Could we just have a little thing, which is A, pull the fuck over, and B, you're not allowed to get out of your car and like menace the other person. You're not allowed to get out of your car and go, what is the meaning of this?
Yeah.
That you are not rammed in your driveway. You're on a very crowded stretch of highway. This happens all the time. I don't know why there's no context in it for you. I get what you're doing. You're being overly dramatic about it, but just fucking signal, pull the fuck over, would you?
Completely agree. This is insanely frustrating, especially out here. I wonder if maybe we ticket these people, like when the cops like are like that.
Yes,
if there was,
a woman last New Year's Eve was killed standing in the freeway.
I know people who've been killed in the freeway by the center divider. Like you just don't get out of your car.
Don't get out of your fucking car. You know the very first rule of Drive Club, a race club. The very first rule in racing, whether you do the vintage style that I do or the occasional professional Trans Am racer, whatever it is, don't get out of your car. Do never get out of your car. You will get killed.
Yeah.
You can never get out of your car. I don't care if your car is facing the wrong way on the fucking straightaway and people are passing you at 200 miles an hour. You will never be allowed to race again if you start crawling out of your car, because that's where you get killed. Pull the fucking car. The guy's driving a pickup truck, like a long bed pickup truck. I'm standing 50 feet away and looking. There's no visible damage done to his car. Just fucking pull it over.
Well, a lot of it too. I would have been.
I would have been happy if this guy got run over. But go ahead.
I do have a theory, and it kind of goes to you talking about the victimhood with the mooch. There is like I've been rear-ended, and I've actually rear-ended other people too, and like I've been in fender benders, and the person acting like the big victim there, you want to get that on the table already. You want to get that on the record, because once the insurance companies get involved, once everyone gets involved, you want to make sure that you were on record doing that before you go and take pictures and videos of everything that's going on. It's all part of it. It's all right. You have to act a certain way, and it sucks.
But could we at least send the message to not get the fuck out of your car and back the traffic up all the way down PCH and kill yourself? Could we just put that up there? We'll give a break to slowing for the cone zone. We'll put my floss message up there, and then we'll go to if it steers, it clears. All right. Yeah. Sorry.
Speaking of floss, if I could do yourself a favor, those little floss sticks, just keep them in your car.
That's right.
On the drive, just have them ready, and then when you see it on the sign, on the electronic freeway sign, you can do it immediately while driving. Because those electronic freeway signs right now they function to me as just holiday reminders. Because I just see, don't drink and drive. My first thought is, what holiday is it today?
Right.
Because it was New Year's. All right, you want to do some trending topics?
No one would want your job. Like Savannah, he screams and makes you have to jump to search the internet and make him right. Max Savannah, his real name's like Savannah.
All right. You mentioned the game last night. I do want to get into that because that was the biggest thing that happened last night in the news and in media. We'll wait for. I kind of want to wait for Sal though too, because I want to hear his thoughts. So we'll get into it last. But during the game, I did see reports because I was glued to my TV. It was an incredible broadcast. But then I got an alert on my phone that Ken Block died.
Yeah, Hoonigan.
Yeah,
Good dude.
He's been on this show. He's been on CarCast. You did Goodwood. He was at Goodwood when we were out there. Like, I mean, we ran into him all the time when we went to car events, and you tweeted he was one of one, and I think that's the best way to describe him.
Yeah, there were no other Ken Blocks.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't want tragedy to befall anybody, but the safety who collapse, there's a bunch of other safeties in the league. There are other people that do what they do. Again, you don't wish it upon anyone, but Ken was a one-of-one kind of dude. I mean, I know there are other rally guys and other drift guys and stuff like that, but he started that whole movement. I mean, his videos are insane. What he did with those cars is insane, and he was one of one.
Yeah, so I encourage anybody to just go and watch any of the Gymkhana videos to see what we're talking about, because you don't even have to be a car guy or car person to really enjoy what he's doing. They're incredible feats, and he closes off like San Francisco, or just goes to really great locations and just gets just does these insane stunts. Really brought rally racing up to the forefront. So he died in a snowmobile accident.
Yeah,
in Utah.
I presume he died going for it.
I do too. I mean, there are no details as of recording this of exactly what happened. But if you hear Ken Block in a snowmobile accident, yeah, that's kind of what you think.
Yeah, he was a guy who liked speed, liked excitement, and when I don't think you could put a guy like that on a snowmobile without him wanting to kind of wring it out, and that's what happens on occasion when you go for it. Like when you're just that, my dad's never been on a snowmobile, but he's alive, but he never had the experience that Ken's had in his life. You know what I mean? And it also, what ends up happening to all the guys who do all the crazy shit is they always die in some fashion that is not related to the thing we think would kill them. Because it is this sort of, people don't really think about it. So they go like, I would be so scared to get in that dragster, or to get in that 1,000 horsepower Mustang he has and drift it through Tokyo or something. But the reality is that thing has a cage and fire suppression system. You're helmeted and suited up. There's a net in the window. Like it's got a lot of safety in that car. And like, if I got into like one of those Trans Am cars I get into, you're probably safer doing that than on PCH in your Miata. Like there's a cage. You're in a cage. Now the snowmobile is basically to the snow what the quad runner is to the desert. There is some sort of illusion of I don't need to wear a helmet. You know what I mean? Like I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you don't. The quads and the three wheelers and the four wheelers and the snowmobiles, those are the things that will fuck you up the most. Not the race car.
Yeah, I mean, you get thrown off of them. The torque on those things alone, like those ATVs, they're heavy too. So you get whipped
land
around
on you,
things.
and Ken was a good dude. I got to know him a little bit, and I just assume he went out like he came in, like just going for it.
Yeah, I assume the same, and just renowned. I mean, the whole community loved him, and it still continues to love him. So yeah, the statement that his team put out, it's with the deepest regrets that we confirm that Ken Block passed away in a snowmobile accident today. He was a visionary, a pioneer, and an icon, and most importantly, father and husband. He will be incredibly missed, and we agree.
And he was a businessman too, founder of DC Shoes and all the Hoonigan merch and everything. Like he was a real.
Yeah,
this is a real dude.
So we're gonna play his interviews on Classics this weekend because he's had multiple appearances on these shows. So he'll be missed. Now, speaking of snowmobile accidents and snow equipment, there was also a really big snow injury, and that's Jeremy Renner.
Yeah,
I don't know if how much you know about this, but he has a place in Nevada, and he was using a snowplow to clear some driveways.
So he was in Tahoe, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was reported Nevada residents, but yeah, Tahoe area, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And he was so he's moving snow from his driveway because his family members were there for the holidays and they wanted to leave, so he's clearing the driveway. And then a neighbor also needed some help, so he goes to his neighbor's house to clear his driveway, and that's where the accident happened. So
No good deed goes unpunished.
well, first off, imagine Jeremy Renner just in a snowplow coming up and like, hey, I just finished my driveway. Can I get yours too?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, exactly. Such a good deed.
But his neighbor turned out to be a doctor, or another neighbor turned out
Yeah.
to be a doctor and may have saved his life with a tourniquet, right?
Yeah. So TMZ reported that the plowing machine accidentally ran over one of Jeremy's legs. So before paramedics arrived, a neighbor who's a doctor put a tourniquet on the leg as he was losing a lot of blood.
Oh, losing a lot of blood in snow is quite dramatic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It pops more, just the color too. But the cold, it's really scary what happened. And so the official statement that his rep put out to CNN was, quote, blunt chest trauma, which is interesting. So there's more than just the leg, and then orthopedic injuries. So it's a lot more vague than what TMZ reported, which may be kind of like when we go to Monterey and they cover up the car. They don't really want exactly what happened out there to kind of ensure what happens in the future.
When there's a car crash?
A car crash, excuse me. Yeah. So like when there's a
race car.
Yeah, when a really valuable race car crashes, everybody kind of goes over and covers it up, and no pictures, and this never happened.
They always cover it up. Yeah. So the plow I heard on TMZ may have been an older model and not had the safety, whatever, of not being able to fire it up and run you over, essentially. But again, like Ken Block, 1 minute you're vacationing, having a great time, whatever, and the next minute you're under a ski mobile or snowplow.
It's crazy. Nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe.
Yeah.
I was funny because I went to Tahoe and I took the kids and I took their friends and they drove there. It took like 7.5 hours to drive there over the break. And I was intent on snowboarding. I said, "Oh, I can handle this."
Well, you have great balance. That's already been put out there. We know you ride a unicycle.
I'll tell you my problem is like Sonny's like, have you ever been skiing before? So I always have to preface this. It confuses people. Like I go, I went skiing when I was 16, and then they go, Sonny'll go, your dad took you skiing? I go, no, I went with Jeff Buck's family. Like I knew families that had money and they would go to Tahoe, or they would go skiing, or they would go water skiing, or they would do it, and I would tag along with them. Water skiing, Jeff Buck. Snow skiing, Jeff Buck. Dirt bike riding, Chris Bohm. Like I had all the different activities that a 16-year-old would want to do. I just, of course, would never do it with my family because they'd have to rent something or buy it, ski lift, ticket, pass, or there'd be some money or some effort or some calories burnt. So it was a no-fly zone.
So if you do something cool, we should automatically assume it wasn't with your parents.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So that's
yeah. If you would consider watching people rot on a sofa cool, then I would be covered. But if it was an activity that sounded cool and it was before the age of 30, it would not be with my family.
Okay.
After the age of 30, I would just pay for it myself. But I went snow skiing for the first time, 16 years of age. And I don't even remember where we went, but I got on those skis. I'd never skied before. Within like 20 minutes, I was fucking going for it down that hill. Like I was in a crouch going 60 miles an hour, just going to town. I didn't have any skill. I was just like, I got great balance. I'm strong as shit. I'm athletic, and I love speed.
Yeah, all French fry, no pizza.
That's right. And so I went for it. And I was busting moguls and shushing, and I was like a bird taking a flight. Like this is the easiest thing in the world for me. Until I collided with somebody at a high speed as I was going for my sort of bonsai run down the mountain. Another guy was kind of traversing it, and we just pow hard. I was okay because I was 16, played football, pretty indestructible. The guy hit was okay too, but when we were attempting to untangle ourselves, he took his leg and sort of kicked it over. We were balled up kind of mess, and the back of his ski, the butt of his ski just bonked me right in the bridge of the nose. I still have a scar that sometimes you can see and sometimes you can't on my eyebrow. I didn't get slashed. I got busted up. Like I got popped with this blunt force thing, and it just broke this thing wide open, and the blood just started pouring down my face because your face bleeds a ton. And this was right in the bridge of the nose, right with the eyebrow, into the eyebrow. And it just started pouring down. And I remember trying to make my way down the mountain to the medical center, but sort of looking at all the blood on the and as I was passing people, they were like going, "Oh my God!" Because it was like a cage fighter got a big cut on his forehead. And it was just pouring down I didn't have a bandana. I couldn't wipe it down. I just took my sunglasses off moments earlier because I got covered with snow, and then pow, right in the bridge. And then I went to the medical center, and they put a butterfly bandage on it. And then I should have gotten stitches or had some sort of cosmetic whatever, because it was this noticeable scar that used to turn red if I got like angry or warm or something. But that's the only time I went.
You had a mood scar.
But I kicked ass.
Yeah.
I had a mood scar. And then so when I was talking to Sonny, he's like, "You're going to snowboard?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going snowboard." And he's like, "You're going to take lessons?" I'm like, "No, I don't need lessons." And he's like, "Really?" And I'm like,
this.
"Yeah, I was going 80 miles an hour and I fucking in my skis.
Yeah.
You know, it was scant 42 years ago, you know, like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
That one time before I got bonked in the face, you know.
Yeah.
But I was like, fuck no, I don't need lessons. I'm going to snowboard. Next thing you know, we're on a lift and you're trying to get your foot stuck in, and he's like, you get off the lift on one leg and then you push yourself.
Yeah.
The lift. So I'm nervous about getting off the lift. The lift stops 1 foot short of the get off line. You know, they'll stop the lift every once in a while if there's a whatever. It's not 1 foot short. 1 foot short. So we're just sitting there the whole time. And I have no idea when we're starting, but when we start, I have 0.3 seconds to get off of this fucking thing. And Sonny's like, "Where's your other foot? It's supposed to be 1 foot's in the board and the other foot's you push with the other." And I'm just sitting there going, I wanted just one smooth move where that thing just dumped me. Stopped one motherfucking foot, one foot before the line. And we just sat there. And of course, there's two other guys on the lift who know what they're doing. And then there's me and Sonny, and we're sitting there for what feels like forever. And and then all of a sudden, like it goes. Okay. And Sonny's like, "Here we go." We both get off. He grabs onto my arm. We both eat shit. Just on the iciest, hardest part of the
that
thing.
part's really hard.
Boom. Ass fucking to the ground. Me and Sonny, pile of people. We go to the bench, get the other foot clicked in. I get going, I immediately fall down.
Yeah.
I can't control myself at all. I can't get up at this point. Now I've gone about 20 feet down the hill. I cannot get up. Sonny's like doing it, kick it under you and put, go for it. Now, what I didn't know is I should have flipped over and got up knee first instead of ass first, which I saw someone do an hour later. But while I was down, literally, at some point, I just said, "Sonny, live your life. You know what? Prosper. Like, go, be free." I set him free. I was like, how long can he stand there watching this old man trying to get on to a snowboard? And at some point I just went, "Go have fun." And he just said, "Are you sure?" Because he's nice. And I said, "Yeah, go ahead." And he just took off. And I found myself just like, God damn it. And everyone was like passing by and everything. And at some point, some sweet, like 22-year-old dude, like named Morgan or something, just kind of came by and he just went, "You need help?" And I said, yeah, I do. He'd been watching me trying to get up for half an hour, and he'd put his hand and like propped this. He was on his snowboard, and he like pulled me up, and I said, "Thank you.
Nice
That's
guy.
very decent of you." And he took off, and then I fell over again, and then that was it. I had to like unbuckle myself, and I went back up to the top where the bench was, and I was sitting there, and I was like. The lodge is 2 miles down the hill, and I can't make it further than 8 feet at a time without dumping over and falling down. And I clearly don't know how to get up at this point because I didn't know the turn it over to your knee side versus your ass side. And I just sat there for a long time, and I said, humiliated, obviously,
course, yeah.
deeply humiliated. Now seeing all the 7-year-old chicks hop on their board and just take off, zip on by. At some point, I got my board off. I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing, board off, checking the shackles on it, you know what I mean, like some mechanical issue. And I walk over to the chairlift operator who just saw me eat shit 20 minutes ago. I don't know if he was watching me not be able to get up or whatever. And I just went, "Can I hop a ride down on this thing?" And he's like, he goes, we don't do that. And I go, "Oh, okay. All right." And he goes, "We having a mechanical issue?" And I'm like, no, not really. And he's like, "Oh, so what's going on?" And I'm like, my hip feels a little stiff. So, I was just looking to catch a ride back. And he's like, "Well, I can call medical and they can drag you down on that gurney, on that,
That's pretty fun.
that tray." And I'm like, I don't want, I'm perfectly fine. I'm embarrassed as shit.
I'm embarrassed. You should have broke your own leg right there.
I don't want a guy pulling up some buff dude with the tourniquet with the sled behind that everyone's gonna watch me lay down and it's gonna give me a blanket or something and strap me like I'm perfectly fine. So I'm like, "Oh, no," and he's like, "All right, well, you're not having mechanical issues, but your hip hurts too much to ride down. Let me get the medical guy." And I'm like, "No, I'll walk it off," and tried to go down another 10 feet, fell over again, and I was like, "I got to walk down this fucking mountain." I walked down that motherfucking mountain. I walked 2 miles in powder down that fucking mountain. Embarrassing,
in the boots.
Humiliating.
Yeah.
Humiliating. Yeah.
Look, I don't blame you. Like I can't snowboard either. I skateboarded my whole life. I was just like you.
Oh.
I thought, I could skate parks. I was pretty good at it. I can get on a snowboard and ride down a little hill, and I couldn't because it's the back side of it of the snowboard. It's like putting shopping cart wheels on all sides. It's like everything could turn.
Couldn't do a thing. But the hardest part about it was while 2,000 people just swooshed past me, I had to walk down the fucking hill and pretend like something was wrong with the snowboard the whole time because everyone was just going past me, looking at me, and I had to like every 10 feet had to fuck around with the binding or something on it because it was so fucking humiliating. It was insane.
I know. You should have just cracked that snowboard over your leg and just walked it down 2 pieces, like
or just broke my leg into two.
That. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Listen, I got a fucking good workout in.
Yeah, Sonny pretended not to know you the rest of the weekend, right?
He took off on a snowboard and had a good time.
He can ride.
Yeah.
Are you regular stance or goofy?
First things first. This is a problem. This is a problem, which is like when I used to teach boxing, I'd say like to some chick, I'm like, "Let's get you in a stance," and I'd go, "What's your strong hand?" She'd go, "Huh, I don't know." And I go, "Oh boy, we're fucked. Like, this is going to take a long time." But I put my left foot forward.
That's regular stance.
But I'm left-handed, but I would kick a ball with my right foot and I would have a right-handed football stance. So I'm kind of all over the road.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. What else?
All right. Well, Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, speaking of Tahoe, though, you did post a good picture of you at the in the snow. You look good, man.
The snow,
shirt off, pants off.
The snow was piled up high outside of the living room of the house we were renting, and I went and sat in it, but I laid in it. Each morning I got up and just buried myself in this powder that built up like 3 foot high on the deck, and I just laid down in it, and I would time it for 5 minutes. So it was basically 5 minutes of lay in a bunch of powder that had built up on the porch. It was about 2 feet, 3 feet high. Yeah. It was enough to lay in it, and I'd have to pick a new spot the next day because it wasn't powdery where I laid the day before. But yeah, my back was beat damn red. I took my feet and I buried them in snow. I took my hands and buried them in snow, and I just laid in this snow.
Yeah,
like Jeremy Renner.
That looks worse than the cold plunge.
No, the cold cold plunge is really insidious. For some reason, this wasn't quite as bad. Oh, it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
5 minutes was pretty bad.
Why are you wearing trunks though, man? So uptight, dude.
Kids were running around. I didn't want to give them a free show. You know?
Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's go to another story. What'd you do for New Year's?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I did. I'm at the point where I don't need to do anything for New Year's. We got back. I went to Garrigus' house and had the greatest moment ever, which is sitting with Garrigus and Dr. Drew drinking Don Julio at Garrigus' Christmas party. And I'm like, where are you going, Mark? What are you up to? And it's like, I'm going to New York on Tuesday or something. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I look at Drew, what are you doing? He goes, well, we were going to go to New York tomorrow, actually. And then Garrigus goes, why don't you guys just come with me in the big-ass private jet? We'll just go there and we'll hang out for a few days. And I was like, okay. So got all our kicks in New York.
I'm so jealous.
Oh,
yeah,
it was so awesome on that plane.
I know Ben over here, he was a victim of that whole Southwest debacle, so he's probably hurting pretty hard here, and that you just got to jump on a private plane in New York.
Oh, my God. Landed at Teterboro, I think it's called, and got into the city in half an hour, just drove to Van Nuys, walked right on, drank Don Julio with the Garrigus on the plane the whole time. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, there's so now when you do New Year's Eve and you watch TV, there are 3 big broadcasts that go on. You have the Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's Eve, which Ryan Seacrest now hosts. You have the CNN with Don Lemon and Anderson Cooper and Eddie Cohen, and then you have which is new Miley Cyrus's show, which she's been doing for a couple years now. So I was flipping through all of them. I was with some friends. We were flipping through all of them, watching all. So my thoughts on all of those were, first off, the Miley Cyrus one was really good. A lot of the acts and the celebrities, it was just us in the room going, who is that? Because they're just too young, right? We've now surpassed who is cool and notable, and it's sad that all these TikTok stars and everybody are featured, but. Dolly Parton was the co-host, so there was that added element of classic and timelessness with the Dolly Parton.
My New Year's Eve thing is now with birthdays. It's like, who cares?
You don't care?
Well, look, I don't know what we're celebrating. The calendar moves. It's one more day.
Yeah.
Everyone has a birthday. Every year begets the year after it. I mean, look, I don't want to be Grinchy here, but I'm over the novelty. I'd rather just go out and drink with friends on any given Saturday and not have to deal with the pomp and circumstance. Cousin Sal is here, by the way. I'm being told. So do we have an owl?
Max Zapata. His real name's Laxamana.
All right. So should we just walk Cousin Sal in, or you want to take a quick break? All right, quick break. Then we'll bring Cousin Sal in right after this.
And now Alcoa presents Definitely Not a Jew on the Adam Carolla Show. Dateline, New York City. A 51-year-old man was arrested after fatally shooting the delivery person of a Chinese restaurant. The man had been harassing employees for months after they refused to give him a refund when he claimed his order did not contain enough duck sauce. Definitely not a Jew.
Alcoa's been with us all these years. Great sponsor. Cousin Sal in studio's got a live pod coming up. That'll be at Jimmy Kimmel's Comedy Club. That'll be Sunday and Monday as you listen to this. And, of course, the podcast Extra Points as well, which you can listen to wherever you listen to finer podcasts.
Thank you. By the way, I take exception to that. Definitely not a Jew. They're usually 100%. Oh, yeah, you're right. But was the Chinese food, was it delivered on Christmas? I think we need to know a little more about that.
Yeah, that's a traditional Jewish
My mother's
behavior.
Jewish. I could jump in on
I
that.
know. It seems like only yesterday she attacked me sexually while I was sleeping. I slept at Cousin Sal's place. I was attacked 2 times in my sleep. I only stayed there 2 or 3
it's
nights.
gonna happen again. I have news for you.
66% of the nights I was attacked.
She's not done. She hasn't had enough of the Ace Man, I don't think. No, she thought, I mean, give it some context.
Yes.
Or is there any? No, that was
we're done. No, she thought I was Jimmy.
Right.
And I was sleeping on a daybed with piles of dirty clothes on it by the washing
talking
machine.
about
And I was probably covered myself with whatever clothes that were on there. And we went to bed at like 3 a.m. and she jumped on me because she thought it was Jimmy, who she has great affection for.
I think you're painting too pretty a picture. That not only was there laundry on that bed, but it was full of like sand because we would go there. It was the summertime. And we'd go to the beach, and then we'd crash because it wasn't relaxing enough at the beach. We'd crash on that terrible mattress downstairs. So
it was a sandy bed that was riddled with soiled clothing, and that's where I slept. But the next time, maybe the next night or the next times, I made it into the spare room that was off the front door.
Oh, nice. Okay, right.
And that's when Cow attacked me.
Right. I have there's a lot of Cow stuff. Cow is my friend Harry from college's half-wit brother. I don't even know how to explain him, but Harry's got issues himself. And then Cow's got Harry beat by about 75 pounds and 15 teeth. And he's just a delight. He's going to be at this Kimmel Comedy Club.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, we're flying him in.
Cow will be there?
He will be there.
Good.
Harry will be there. We're going to be giving away betting slips. And I was thinking we have one thing where we're going to do the parlay pinata, and we're going to hang Cal. We haven't figured out how we're going to suspend him from the ceiling, and people are going to hit him with a wiffle ball bat, and he's going to spit out parlays.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That old trope.
Yeah, exactly. Wayne Newton. He used to do it all the time.
He used to do his Gucci goo.
He'd tickle your feet.
Yeah, he tickled my feet, but I never met him. So it was weird, his humongous mongoloid man standing in front of the bed, tickling my feet at 7 a.m. after we went to bed at 3 again. And I just looked up and I went, who are you? And he's like, Gucci. I was in my 30s. I was like 31 at the time.
Right, yeah. So it was still legal, right? I think it was. Yeah, he used to, and he would do that thing he would touch with his big fat hands. He would touch girls' cheeks in the hallway in high school, and he got suspended for it.
He'd do the weird backhand cheek touch,
and he would make some weird noise, and he would smile, and there was nothing sexual about it, but he got booked for something sexual. Someone complained.
I wish there was some hall monitor I could have called when he gave me the Gucci goo and reported his ass. Because by the way, I'm a guy who's traditionally used to being peed upon by his friends and having shit smashed in his ear. I'm not easily offended.
Right.
But I remember waking up going, what the fuck? And you rarely get a what the fuck out of me.
Uh-huh.
Oh, speaking of that, the Yokozuna.
Yeah, right.
That story, because everyone knows Mike August here. Mm-hmm. So maybe you could recap that story.
Mike, I had this thing. Well, where do I start? Yokozuna was a successful WWE wrestler. He became champion. He's from Japan. He was a sumo wrestler turned professional wrestler. And his finishing move was he would jump off the top ropes and land his gigantic tuchus on his prone opponent's head and the announcers would yell Yokozuna. So the Yokozuna splash was the name. So I took this. I took it a step further. I did it bare-assed onto several people. Most notable, Mike August. We're watching football in my condo in North Hollywood. He fell asleep, which was a...
Oh, that was in your condo?
Yeah.
I thought that was in Jimmy's old house
No,
in
it
the
was
hills.
Jimmy was smart about it because he'd fall asleep too, but he'd put a toothpick in his mouth. So if I was going to jump ass first, I would get it. It would hurt me.
Yeah.
But Mike wasn't as
It's like those spikes they put up on top of the sign at the seafood place so the pigeons don't shit all over it.
Exactly.
Smart.
Don't back up the tires. Yeah, all that stuff. But August didn't have the toothpick, and I jumped on him, and he cracked his tooth.
What happened is you yelled Yokozuna probably a millisecond too soon.
Oh, okay.
You know, you're not going to be... Sal's not really built for hang time, but he's ambitious, you know. But it's hard for gravity to really do its work when your pants are around your ankles.
Thank you.
But so he could dunk a basketball if he didn't have his pants around his ankles. So Sal got his pants around his ankles, and Mike was on the sofa just asleep, with his head tilted back.
Right.
And Sal yelled Yokozuna and then went airborne. Now, if you'd waited a millisecond, yelled Yokozuna. When Mike heard Yokozuna, his hand went flying up in front of his face. But anyone knows Mike, he wears a Rolex Submariner stainless steel watch, and the watch was lined up with his mouth.
Right.
And when Sal landed on him, the watch band or the watch busted his tooth off.
Right, that's exactly what it was. Right. Yeah, the Casios don't get enough credit, but in that case, that's the more valuable watch.
Yes, and he didn't... as I recall, Mike didn't have too big a beef with you knocking a front tooth out with his watch.
He knew it was his fault. You don't fall asleep on football Sundays.
This is the difference between men and women, I would say, right? Like, if any one of our wives or girlfriends or women in anyone's lives dropped their pants, went full Yokozuna on the other one who maybe drank a little too much white wine at brunch and was passed out, and then... a veneer had popped off of Mike's tooth. That woman would never talk to the other woman again.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
It doesn't get that far though, because women, when they when someone falls asleep, they'll take off her makeup, they'll take off her shoes, they'll tuck her into bed, and they'll take care of her. Whereas us, you get Sal.
We had it to take it a step further. We have a friend, Daniel Kellison, who was bitten on the back by another friend, Doug DeLuca.
Oh, that's right.
And his wife, Daniel's wife, found the bite mark on his back, and he told the truth. He's like, "No, it was my." I mean, she thought the worst. Oh, you're cheating.
It is Daniel.
It's rough sex. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's my friend Doug. He bit me. And in therapy, this came up. Like, what kind of man? What kind of friends are like? So you're right. Yeah, she probably didn't have friends that did that.
That bit. Yeah, we have. I think we have the Man Show clip of the Yokozuna.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You guys telestrated it. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
We didn't exaggerate. Yeah, the women don't. All right, we won't watch the whole clip, but yeah, wearing the Emmitt Smith jersey.
That's right. Yeah, what a tribute to number 22.
So let's see. What the hell else I want to get into with Cousin Sal? I was thinking about practical jokes and how you're very steeped in practical jokes. When I was talking to Chris about, I mean, there's the James Baby Doll Dixon Christmas card that Jimmy puts out every year. Yeah. But I was thinking, like, what are some of Sal's greatest hits? I mean, we got Yokozuna. Yeah. I don't know which. I know you've tortured Jeff Ross quite a bit.
Yeah, you were actually you made that situation worse, or me showing off in front of you made that worse. So that was well. Should I tell the Dancing with the Stars?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jeff is on Dancing with the Stars, right? And he's terrible. He's really the worst dancer they had ever seen. He had the lowest combined score from the judges after an opening week. And to add to it, during one of the rehearsals, he gets poked in the eye by Edita, I think was his dance partner. And so he has to wear an eye patch. And so now he's even through the rehearsals and whatever. He does the show, and he's even worse than he is. So he gets a sympathy. He's still in the 12s. He's still got triple fours, right? Mm-hmm. It's not going to last. So he's in the bottom two against Kim Kardashian, by the way, which is kind of funny at this point. Jimmy would interview the loser of Dancing with the Stars would come on Jimmy's show right afterwards. So we had a heads up as to who would win.
When you got booted, you would immediately get into a town car after the show and be hustled over to Jimmy's show.
Right.
The timing was that tight.
A lot of times we did have a heads up. We didn't have one this time, but I thought he was going to lose. So anyway, I send him a text. I'm like, hey, buddy, I have some inside info. You're safe. And knowing that he had the lowest score, got poked in the eye, was kind of a laughingstock. And then so he's side by side. They do the split screen with Kim Kardashian. Tom Bergeron gives it a 10 Mississippi count before he announces who's out. And you actually see Jeff whisper to Edita, "Don't worry, we're safe." He took my words from the text and used them against himself. And there's a going home in week 1. Jeff and Edita. And he's just, you could see everything's just drained from his face. And he's angry at me. And then I think we both came on your show the next week or something. I think you asked me, would you do this again, knowing how hurt Jeff was? And the answer typically is no. But I thought, I'm like, yeah, why not? Of course I would do it.
By the way, I would count that as, I wouldn't even make a 3 in my 0 to 10 offensive. That'd be a 0 burger for me.
Yeah, and if you're an insult comic, I don't want to make this worse, but yeah, if that's your thing, it should be even less maybe than a 3.
Yeah, Jeff is strangely sensitive for an insult comic, or even a guy who works at Home Depot. He's very sensitive. I don't know. I never get how guys are sensitive, but it's part of my problem is I don't get everybody. I'm like, yeah, so we bit him on the shoulder. Like, yeah, what's the big whoop?
See, now I'm going to get in trouble again. I love Jeff.
Moving on. Yeah. Well, look. He's sensitive, but it also has manifests itself in a positive way too, because he's very sweet, he's very caring, he's very understanding, and so on and so forth. But he got upset, and I think that thing went on for a while.
Yeah, it was like 2 or 3 months into the football season, and luckily Tom Cruise came over with his mother. And I think it was Jimmy and Sarah at the time, and they're like, well, why don't you guys let Tom decide who's right and who's wrong here? Yeah. And Jimmy, we treated it like a trial, and he gave opening statements for me, and Sarah gave them for Jeff. And then Tom Cruise, confused, his mother even more confused, looks and says, why don't you guys just grow up? And so we did. We shook hands, and that was that. We have Tom Cruise. He brought us together.
Chris, make a note. Let's get Tom Cruise's agent on the blower, and I'm going to pitch him Tom Solves Beefs. Ooh. And that's Tom shows up at households. Mm-hmm. You know, it's probably not prime time, but like a 10 o'clock show or something like that. Yeah, and he maybe for a streamer, and he just shows up. There's a couple in Mississippi, and they're having a problem with the pot roast or whatever, and he just settles the beef. We'll pitch that.
Maybe zip lines in. You got to make it appealing for him because he's going to want to.
Yeah, it's funny. I have speaking of Mike August, I had an argument with Mike August that lasted 112 miles. I had an argument that started with him.
Not on an airplane, unfortunately.
No, in traffic.
Great.
I had an argument with Mike that started with him picking me up in my house and didn't end until we got to the comedy club in San Diego over Tom Cruise. And I literally argued with Mike for 2 hours and 41 minutes about Tom Cruise.
What was it? Do you remember?
Well, you guys can tell me whose side you would take here.
Okay.
We were doing the Paul Newman doc, Paul Newman racing doc. Paul Newman raced with Tom Cruise for a couple seasons. It was all sort of chronicled. You know, he's racing. He rode. Tom went to like a lower division and like showroom stock, and Newman was driving the big scary cars. But then Tom like moved his way up and crashed a lot and stuff like that. But so we were getting, Robert Redford and other notable people to speak about Newman, and it'd be like, wouldn't it be great if we could get Tom Cruise to sit down and talk about his racing days with Newman? And I have Tom Cruise's old fire suit and stuff like that. So we started this sort of campaign. And Mike's like, oh, we'll put it out on social media, try to get people, see if someone can get hold of Tom. We just got to sit him down for 20 minutes and talk to him about and we'll just talk about racing shit. We're not going to talk about Scientology or whatever. And at some point, somebody prints some horrible article about Tom Cruise in some publication, and Tom Cruise's people call Mike and accuse him of planting this story, which we have nothing to do with.
What did it entail?
I'd have to hit Mike up on this, but it was just some online publication talking shit, somehow maybe tenuously connected to us trying to get Tom Cruise on or something, but it had nothing to do with me or Mike or anyone of that. So the argument that lasted for 122 miles was him saying, now we're trying to get Tom Cruise to do this thing. So Tom's publicist or people get hold of Mike and go, what the fuck? What is this?
Yeah.
You know, is this yours? Is this your article? And Mike's solution is, we will tell them no, but he will get it taken down. And I said, Mike, if you say no, but I'll get it taken down, it suggests a relationship with the publication.
Right,
and he's like, I never said we're related to the pub. I said, Mike, we had this argument for 2.5 hours. I said, Mike, you can't tell them you've never heard of the publication and you have nothing to do with the publication and then say, I will get it taken down, because when she called you and said, what do you know about this? She's accusing you of planting it in the publication. Right. And he goes, she never accused me of planting in the publication. She just wanted to know if I knew about it. So, like, when the publicist calls and asks you if you know about it and you say no, and then you say you'll get it taken down, that's an admission of guilt. And he's like, why is it an admission of guilt? I'm just trying to help her take it down. And she's not accusing me of planting it. She just wants to know, what do I know about it? And I'm like, Mike, don't do it. You can't do it. It's going to look like we planted it. So why does it look like we planted it? Because you're taking it down. So what? That's just a good deed. Maybe it'll be rewarded. I don't know, Mike, she's accusing you of this. Yeah. She didn't accuse me. She asked if I knew about it. This circle went on, like you would fade away and you'd see the wheels turning on the highway and then the leaves changing and falling and men growing beards and back to the wheels of my car, into the cab of my car. Same argument. That cycle. It never ended. He would not relent. He kept his 2 points where she didn't accuse me of planting it. She asked about it, which is accusing.
Can I jump? I know it seems obvious which side anyone should take, but I'm backing Mike here. I really do.
No.
Because, well, I mean, think about it. When OJ announced he's going to look for the killers, public perception turned like 180. Like, oh, God, there's no way this guy did it. Same kind of thing. Same kind of thing.
Same OJ.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Chris,
good job, Mike.
what do you think?
Oh, no, I'm with you, Adam.
What?
Look, I know, it's crazy. Tom Cruise, his main source to get this article down is Mike August.
Well, he's saying, I've never heard of this publication. We have no relationship with them whatsoever, but I'll get it handled.
But I've no idea where this is, but I can get it down.
Yeah,
I know.
So that's.
Wait, what did you end up getting him?
No, I never.
Oh, that's right, you didn't.
Should have grabbed him when he was in Jimmy's kitchen.
Yeah, well, you took the time to demonstrate your touchdown celebration.
I did my poop out a football touchdown dance
in front of his mother.
In front of his mom. He showed up with sprinkles, cupcakes, and his mom.
Did you mention that in the email asking him to come on the dock then?
I should have. I should have
you.
put that in the article. I should have to put that in the hit piece we put out in the Daily Slander.
There's no way to Yokozuna Mike from the driver's seat, right?
No.
Otherwise, that would have been a good ending.
No, the real sad part is there was a third person, I can't remember, in the car who was like hitching a ride with us, and they had to just listen to us argue the entire time. And Mike will argue as long as you. Look, we could have been doing a show in Phoenix or Wisconsin.
Right.
The argument only ended because at some point we had to get out of the car, and I had to do a show.
Yeah.
I couldn't continue the argument. Mike will go.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
He wins. That's how you win.
All right, so the live show is.
Yeah.
Have you guys done a live pod?
No, you've actually inspired me a little. And Mike August. I talked to him a lot about this. And I said, we have this cast of characters. We have this Extra Points podcast network. It's about 15 talent over 7 podcasts. And let's hit the road. Let's see what we could do. I think we could make people happy. We could do a watch party. I could give out like betting slips, do trivia. And, I think that's the way to do it. August told me about merchandising. By the way, he steals from merchandise. If you ever need money,
he's a
if you ever
skimmer.
he skims. He's about
He needs his taste.
1,500.
Yeah, he always hands me a smaller and smaller
Does he?
pile after
Really?
we come off the road. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on? So it's all credit cards now.
You're like Tony Soprano's. It's the second
Yeah.
light envelope in a row. If I let this go, what
Well,
does that mean to me?
I don't take a lot of credit for anything, but the live podcast is
Yeah.
something we started early, like in 2000. And I think we did our first one in 2009, like a first 10 months of the show or whatever. Like, Mike's innovative because he's greedy. You know what I mean? So you think he's innovative. He's not really innovative. He's just chasing nickels.
Right,
It's
right,
like,
right.
what if we did what if you paid us to do a live thing and then we could sell commercials against the thing? And the next thing you know, we're down at the Irvine Improv doing a live podcast 12 years ago, 13 years ago now, which is nuts. But it is interesting. And it's also interesting that it was an old-timey radio kind of format from days of yore.
Yeah.
Woody Allen's Radio Days sort of chronicles it. You'd play theaters and clubs and stuff, and they do live radio shows. Now it's just live podcasts, so it's kind of cool. So in the clubs, I know it was closed down with COVID for a while, but it's all up and running,
It's open
full
now.
capacity.
Yeah, I think it opened in November. It's back up. We're going to do a watch party for the NFL games on Sunday, God willing, week 18. And then Monday, right before the college football championship, we have a ticketed event, Ticketmaster, and what else? Vegas.com. I think that's where you could find it. And then stay and watch the championship game with us.
Yeah, that's going to be live, and that's coming up this Sunday and Monday, and of course the podcast, Extra Points as well. Website, extrapoints.com. Well, glad to see you landed on your feet after all these years, Cousin Sal, with a super humble beginnings. The story I always bring up with Sal, but first off, when I met Jimmy, I thought my friends were weird. Now he thought my friends were animals.
Right.
But
he was right.
Yeah, he thought they were full animals. He thought they were animals. He would tell me that all the time. But I didn't know how fucked up and weird his crew was.
Yeah.
Like Sal picked us up from the airport the night we landed, K-Rock 1994, whatever it is. And at night, 11 o'clock at night or
You
whatever.
were coming off Spirit, I think, which you had to wait to. They don't pay for landing clearance, right? So they're last in line. At least at the time, I think. Was it Spirit?
No, it wasn't Spirit. It was a defunct airline called
Tower Air.
Where they took a 747, they gutted it. There's no first class, there's no business class. They just put folding chairs. And there was like 600 people in that plane. I was a nervous flyer. I never flew. I lived in North Hollywood. I never got an airplane. And I remember I was counting all the rows, and it was like a 747 hollowed out with just coach.
Lots of room.
I said, if this plane crashes, it is the biggest aeronautical disaster of all time. It will be 550 people, whatever. Yeah. We landed. Sal picked us up. Yeah, you had to get off the plane and get on a bus or something. Right. Sal picks up. It's midnight. And Sal couldn't find his way back to his house.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, that's weird because he lives here. And this is his airport.
It's a continuation of the Tower Air experience. You never.
Sal kept getting lost from the airport. It'd be like me going to LAX and not being able to find my way back to North Hollywood. It was insane. We drove over the median at some point. You had to get gas. It was
raining. I had gas. I had to get gas. Yeah. I think I was saving you because I knew what was going to happen on the other end, which is just you laying in a bed full of sand and dirty laundry. So.
There is one other very small thing from that trip. We stayed up, me and Jimmy stayed up sitting in your kitchen, just talking shit until like 3 a.m. or playing cards or something.
Yeah.
And I went to bed, and your mom threw away my sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I
To be fair to her, like one arm had busted off, but they were like $80 Ray-Bans, and I was fucking poor. And remember a good pair of sunglasses, how devastating that was? And I was like, and your mom went off to work or something like that. And I was like, where are these sunglasses? I searched through the garbage. I was like, pulling the... She threw them away, but she put them. She took them to like the city dump or something.
Chased down the sanitation.
Yes, I remembered. That's all I remember. That's all I remember. Yeah. All right, Sal. Mazel tov to you, my friend. Philadelphia Helium this weekend, January 6th and 7th. I'll be doing 4 shows there. Come on out. Say hi. Dallas, Working Blue with John Popper. That's coming up in January 20th and 21st. We're also doing a live show at a theater, me and Blues Travelers, John Popper as well. That's January 21st. Just go to Adam Carolla for all the dates that are coming up. And until next time, this is Adam Carolla for Chris Max Paddock, Anthony Scaramucci, Cousin Sal, I kind of saying mahalo.